Hello everybody, welcome back to another Let's Play of Idiot Plays Games. Today we're playing Who is the Red Queen? Starting off from where we left off. Night fell and another day ended. What did I dream of? I must have forgotten. Only 2 more limbs and a head remained. I continued on my adventure to collect the Red Queen so that I could finally meet her and find a way back home. Step, step, step. I walked around this upside-down world. In between my explorations of Wonderland, I chatted with the Hatter, and she made a certain inquiry. What do you want to go back home? What do you want to go back to at home? What indeed? Alice, Alice, what was waiting for you at home? I counted off my fingers, 2 sisters, 2 cats, a large empty home, books and tutors. With my sisters, Laura and Edie, I was not particularly close. The older Lorena and the younger Edith. Intelligent Lorena and precocious Edith. They seemed to live in their own world apart from Alice. I preferred the cats. A white cat and a black cat. The former was cute, a little beauty like the White Queen, and the latter, a little devil. As for the books, our library seemed endless. I had so many books that I could drown. Maybe a pile had collapsed on me and I was dying, suffocating under the pages so terribly that I fell into Wonderland. The tutors would be so mad that the books were ruined. I winced at a phantom pain stinging in the back of my legs. The poor ruler, I could already see it go red. That was my world, a boring, normal, plain world where animals didn't talk and corpses didn't move, where I hadn't needed to think of much at all. I was Alice, and that place was Alice's place. I fiddled with my fingers, grasping for the correct expression to wear. A smile was always safe. I'll be off then. Step, step, step. I traversed about this place, which is not Alice's place, my place. I was walking around, searching for clues where the next limbs or even head could be when I heard the sound of a conversation. I followed the noise and found the oddest pair, a rabbit and a cat. Ask the Hatter. Hatter? That Hatter, she's more cuckoo than the bird. A real nuisance. The only silver lining is how now that Brat and Herrick are out of the way, she's become more of a recluse. My ears are still ringing from that time we had to pull peasants off the street to sing for royal guests. The courts have stopped working. The kingdom's falling into anarchy. We've got filth on the ground left from right. Up and down, too. Shut up, you damn cat. You fucking criminal pretending to be a cat. If we weren't so busy, I'd send the cars to chain you up and sew you back into the dungeons where you belong. Scary threats from a rabbit. Listen up, your name is still on top of the list for execution, cat. Don't think you can do whatever you want. Now I've got to... Alice! The white rabbit made a puking sound. The blood drained from her face when she met my eyes. Hello. Did I interrupt your conversation? No, not at all. Hello, Alice. I hope we weren't too loud. The cat and I were just making some small talk. How have you been? Well enough, and you? Well enough as well. Well, what about me? Well, are you well? It depends, I'm Cat. The cat's punchline met silence. Are you 2 friends? No. Yes. Arch circles rarely overlap. We only happen to meet and talk today by coincidence. I'm hurt, Bunny. I thought we were friends. Cheshire Cat, please refrain from giving me unsolicited nicknames. Bunny. You 2 seem to get along. No, not really. They didn't seem to get along at all. I just liked how the white rabbit thought that she could lie straight to my face about what they were talking about before. Lie. That was what the Queen's courtiers ought to do. Hilarious. After a short 3-way chat, the white rabbit pulled me to the side for private conversation. I have an invitation for you, Alice. The white rabbit reached into her coat, retrieving an envelope from an inner pocket. She held it out to me. The Duchess has invited you to her endless party. If you're interested in attending, it will always be held at her manor. I took the outstretched invitation. When is it? On, indefinitely. Ever since Her Majesty has gone missing, the Duchess has been holed up in her manor, holding a grand ball day and night. If I didn't know better, I would think that she was celebrating. But she wouldn't be so foolish. I see. Thank you for the invitation. Tracing an oddly familiar wax seal upon the envelope, I fiddled with the invitation in my hand. I wondered where I had seen it before. I live to serve, Alice. What a relief. A burden is lifted off my shoulders now that this invitation is delivered. If it pleases you to attend, I hope you have an enjoyable time. The Duchess certainly knows how to throw parties, and the nobility of Wonderland how to party. I took the invitation away. Is there anything else? No, that's all. I won't bother you any further. Please excuse me, Alice, and have a nice day. Bowing her head a few times, she made her way away and soon was out of sight. And off she goes. We were talking about something, too. That White Rabbit, she only cares about the Mad Queen. I've got a little secret about the White Queen, just a bit of gossip. Do you want to hear? Certainly. I was in a bit of a stump trying to find the rest of the White Queen. The first two pieces came along quite easily, as if delivered on a silver platter, but now I had to find some more clues. I waited for the cat to speak again, glancing at her flickering tail. She gestured for me to come closer. When I moved in, she flicked me sharply on the forehead, causing me to recoil in surprise and stumble back. I never said I would say. Try finding me later, Alice. Before I could respond to her provocation, she disappeared into thin air, leaving a grin floating before me for a short moment more. That is, if you can. With a flicker of the grin, too, vanished. What did the rabbit call her again, Alice? I ran my fingers through my bangs and sighed. Looking around, I was alone on my search again. Let's check out the party first. I took out the invitation that the White Rabbit had delivered to me, running my fingers against the paper of the envelope and the imprint on the wax seal, some sort of animal. I tore the invitation open. Inside I found a card and read it to myself. Alice, the Duchess requests the honor of your presence at her ball. Today, tomorrow, time eternal. The Duchess estate, the manor. You are required to bring a companion. Flipping the card over, I noticed something off, a crudely drawn map. I followed the lines on the map and somehow pinpointed where I was in relation to the manor. I held nothing to bring to a party, nor did I have a readily available guest. I pondered about whether I should go or not, seeing as that I could put it off indefinitely, but with the Red Queen's part still missing, perhaps someone there would know. A duchess should have been close to the Queen, for example. That, at least, the tutors have mentioned. As for the +1, my mind wandered off to my few human acquaintances in Wonderland. Let's save there, and choose the Hatter this time. I returned to the Hatter, who was having her usual tea time, and invited her. Hatter, won't you accompany me to a ball? I rather won't. Alice, did you have to request it that way? I'll trade you a favor for a favor. If you'll come to the ball with me, I can do something for you. Take some pity, Alice has no friends. No friends, no pets, no siblings, no one, none. Do favors have flavor like butter? I would say I have at least one of the above. What sort of favor would you offer me, Alice? A limb, a tongue, a heart? Alice, you don't have anything that I want that I can't get myself. A couple for your sandwich, Alice. Here's the salt. I passed her the pepper as she slid the salt and a cup of tea over to me. Fiddling with the salt container, I tasted a spoonful of humiliation atop my tongue. I have no friends. She says she has no friends. She really has no friends. You have no friends. What am I, Marcia's favorite old buttersticks? Well, if you would. If you would. She says it. I would really rather not. A hatter doesn't matter around the nobles, who'd just like to flatter. I'm no good with nobles, after all. I'm just a hatter. For a second her voice dipped. Hatter is better off here all alone. I barely heard the hatter's low words. It's also still tea time. How can we go off to a ball when we've yet to finish afternoon tea? She stirred her tea, watching as I slumped into my seat and played with the salt. But I rather appreciate you. My heart skipped a beat. Why, Alice, just why did you find that slight smile somewhat charming? The sound of my teaspoon hitting against the rim of my cup broke me out of my thoughts. I looked down. Putting the cup to my mouth, I took a sip and found that I had put salt into my tea. Terrible. I'll accompany you, Alice. When is this ball? Any time. It's not very nice of you to say it's not tea time here, then. Not very good of you to be biased against tea time, don't you know? We finished off our tea and sandwiches. After a few more sips, I sneakily dumped the salted tea behind my armchair. The hatter put the dormouse and my chair away. After lingering at the tea table for a few moments longer, we got up to leave. She waved goodbye to the puppets, hesitant as if scared of leaving this place. Then we used the shoddy map on the back of the invitation card to find our way to the Duchess's place. After a walk, we arrived at the manor. The hatter shook her head as if that bit of walking had tired her out. Then again, the bags under her eyes conveyed that she hadn't slept well for a while. A guard stopped us at the entrance. Halt. Please show your invitation card. I handed the guard the card. He looked it over, glancing at me and the hatter before returning it to me. The guard gestured and led us inward, a few steps through the entranceway. To enter, a guest must provide an arm. The arm will be returned to you whenever you wish to leave the party. An arm? A limb? The guard nodded. Please provide an arm. Uncharacteristically, the hatter said nothing the entire time to the guard. She warily looked at his sheathed sword and shuffled behind me. You may not enter without providing an arm. Let's offer the Red Queen's arm. I crossed my arms and tapped my feet as the guard repeated his blocking words a handful of times more. While the thought of offering my own limb came up, I decided against it. As such, we needed to find another arm to give. Well, I'm loath to suggest this. We do have a spare arm back at the tea table. Her Majesty surely wouldn't mind, don't you think? Yes, indeed. She had no tongue to speak otherwise. With that, we made a trip back to the Hatter's place. The Hatter hopped over to the dog cage we had set by the Red Queen. Popping it open, she pulled out a severed arm and quickly slammed the door shut. The limb flailed in the Hatter's hands till she unceremoniously tossed it to me. This was the Red Queen's arm. I never quite thought that I would accompany Her Majesty to a ball. It gives me shivers. To me, it felt so obvious that this was the Red Queen's arm. I wonder if someone will recognize the arm. We could certainly be in a good deal of trouble. I would prefer not to have the trouble of getting the arm back if someone tries to take it away. They won't with Wonderland. They wouldn't want to recognize it anyhow. I've been here for a while, but still this logic fascinates me. Wonderland. We took a tea break, according to the Hatter. It was still tea time, after all. Shall we go on to the ball, milady? Although I'm afraid I've got no pumpkin carriage nor glass slippers for you. You're charming enough as is. Lead the way, Alice. Arm in hand, we returned to the Duchess's manor. The guard greeted us with the same phrases, asking for an arm at the entrance fee, to which we responded by handing over the arm that we had retrieved. He glanced at both of us, noting that neither of us were missing a limb. The guard handed it off to a servant who put it into a sealed box and took it away for safekeeping nonetheless. You may enter, esteemed guest. We arrived at the Duchess's ballroom. Although the hostess was nowhere to be found, servants milled around with the floor with refreshments for the guests. A quartet performed in the front. Food sat at the tables to the sides of the room. All around were faceless people dressed up like clowns. Faceless people. They were uninteresting people. They sent a few glances our way as we came without much fanfare. Already I didn't like them. Perhaps it was their beady pig-like eyes. For all that they were faceless, I saw only clowns and swine. I approached a group, thinking to gain some information. Hello. Hello to you as well. The guest seemed wary upon seeing me, but showed a displeased reaction upon laying eyes on the Hatter, who had reluctantly followed me along. And the peasant, which one was it? Oh, the one with the vermin. Where are your little raggedy friends? The rat and the hare. The Red Queen's little pet was happy to see them gone. The rabbit's always been like that. Rather than rutting, she likes the cutting. An animal in such a position I really do not approve. Her Majesty likes it. Well, she's gone now. You shouldn't say that. Speak of the devil and she will come. Devil indeed. 'Tis a shame that the White Queen's always been a fool. Pretty bird, but as a ruler, the Red Queen liked her well enough, and certainly from the rumors she's done something quite pleasant. For us, you mean. Don't jinx it. The group stage whispered among themselves as they pointed to the Hatter like they were looking at a spectacle. The Hatter at the time was simply staring off into space. Is that lunatic glaring at us? This is the problem with peasants. It's staring at us. My, how uncomfortable. I can't believe this thing rolls around with the animals. The animals are all gone. That's the least that Her Majesty has done for us in her petty red reign of pretty red reign. Now let's get away from the filth. The stench of vermin is unbearable. I must ask the Duchess about who can be led into her ballroom. A servant pressed by with a tray full of champagne. One of the guests removed 2 flutes from the tray and offered me one with a slur in her words. Have some alcohol. Did you have some business with us? No. I shook my head and turned away. Drink should be shared only in pleasant company. Let's take our leave from these people, Hatter. Chitter, chatter, chitter, chatter. I noticed the other guests making snide comments on the Hatter and giving her the side-eye while stepping back from me of all people. Saying those things to my person, someone who was mine. My Hatter. They deserved punishment, capital or otherwise. That was right, Alice. What a shame that I had no such power. We moved to the sides where the food was, seeing as few people lingered by refreshments for long. 2 of us picked up some cakes and snacks. As I tasted it, I couldn't help but feel that the Hatter made better food. A tingly sensation spread through my body as I ate. Hatter, what is this? My voice changed pitches as I talked. At one moment I sounded squeaky as a mouse, and the next slow as an elephant. Me too. Playing with the old refreshments, we found ourselves speaking like animals. Meow. Woof. Meow meow. Woof woof woof. I wondered what she said. She looked so pleased as if she had made the world's greatest joke that had just gone unheard. Next we tried the pudding. Discomfort filled my heart, as if something dirty was coming out with each pulse, which each squeeze of the ventricle pushing blood through the aorta. I hate this. I hate you. I don't know how I deal with a bedlamite dog like you. I really, really, really hate you. It's the Red's fault. I'll kill. They're dead, 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 so I'm alone. The Hatter blocked her words and stuffed Cookie into her mouth. Woof. What needs to be done has to be done, but once it's done, we should certainly purge. It's been such a long time. I've got to punish that little bird. needs to be done has to be done, but once it's done, we should certainly purge. It's been such a long time. I've got to punish that little bird. And you, your head will make a good decoration. There's not a worthy soul inside. You're a lunatic and a fool. Putting a hand over my mouth and clenching my jaw, I shut up as well, till the distortion in my heart disappeared. I didn't mean to say any of that. The pudding must have twisted our words. I as well. How did Alice? As we experienced the strange food, the other guests continued to mingle and dance. This was a ball, so all things they did. The music stopped along with the chatter. It was at this time that the Duchess made her appearance. She was a featureless woman who hid her face. Instinct told me that she was ugly, yet I could not see anything, not disfigurement nor beauty. She existed as the Duchess, but could not be seen. She was only perceived. Tonight we have a special gift to be given to a single guest. She gestured, and a servant behind her came up with an item hidden under a red cloth. A hushed whispering ran through the ballroom as everyone guessed at what could be hidden underneath that would make the Duchess consider it special. We are holding a chess tournament, the usual game that ends when the king has fallen, even here where the king has long gone. Of course, the winner will receive the prize. The servant removed the cloth. All around, the guests let out a collective gasp. What, you may ask? Why, it could only be our dearest Majesty's leg. There was a severed leg, the Red Queen's left leg, from the looks of the limb. It could fit perfectly onto the torso stump sitting at the Hatter's place. May the best strategist win. The Duchess clapped. The servants began to move out, setting up tables and chess sets in a matter of minutes. With a matchup list created, the tournament started. As I made my moves with Hatter, I thought back to all the chess I had played for the tutors. They would be relieved that at least I hadn't forgotten anything and everything. Losing each time had been a painful ordeal, so I too was glad that I remembered. The Hatter had a brilliant strategic mind. I watched as she flung her queen into a crowd of pawns only for it to be eaten alive. Most of the time. We made our ways to the finals, where we met with the last opponent, not at a table, but in a cleared-out space in the ballroom with a large chessboard overlaid. The last opponent was the Duchess. Around her lined up stood 1 1/3 soldiers dressed up in black like chess pieces. What is this? Why, human chess. Chess is an imitation of bloody war. In this land without war, we must take steps to make life more interesting. That is what our dearest Majesty proclaimed. One of you two have to take the role of a piece, and otherwise I'll provide the other pieces for you to play with. I exchanged glances with the Hatter. Even now, I couldn't understand what went on in those eyes, but I had already decided. Maybe I didn't want to see her potentially get hurt, as no one here cared for the life of a Hatter. Oddest otter. What a thought to have. I rather liked her. I will take the role of a piece. Let's go with Queen. I chose to take the Queen's piece as role, for the Queen had the greatest power on the board. I donned a fake white crown and was given a sword. Our white pieces shuffled in and took their positions on the board. Soon enough, the chessboard was set. A human-sized version of the strategy game unfolded. The Hatter started with the first move. Clang, clash, one by one, the pieces on the board fell, almost like dominoes. Perhaps knight to a... No, a piece on the board cannot speak. We're the players, and you are but a game piece. Finally, the Queen came into play. I played with the sword in my hand. A hilt rolled comfortably in my palm, pleasant yet strange, as if I didn't use a sword much. I didn't, but was still perfectly fine with committing acts of violence with one. Now, swordsmanship was one thing that the tutors hadn't bothered teaching. After all, it wasn't fitting for a lady. They really should have, as it turned out that I was quite good at cutting things down after some short exhibition blows. The Hatter directed me across the board. I attacked as told. What do you call yourself these days again? Alice. I see. We moved around the board in a perfect match, letting our other pieces back me up and cornered the Duchess's black king in no time. Checkmate. Checkmate. I wondered if I had killed a king before. The Duchess clapped her hands in congratulations. The servants cleared the floor, wiping it down. They made it once more sparkly clean, as if red had not just been spilled in a human facsimile of a game. One came along with a wet towel for me to wipe away any stain that had gotten on me during the match. Congratulations! You are a true pair of master strategists. With this, the competition has concluded, and you two are the winners. Would you like to take your prize now? Yes. The Hatter bobbed her head up and down rapidly. The Duchess gestured a servant over. Our dearest Majesty's leg, do take care of it, well, lest she come back and has you punished for disrespecting the crown. She took the leg from the servant and handed it to me. I hope you enjoy the rest of the ball. The Duchess left again with her servant, following after her. She seemed to have enjoyed the chess tournament. Just as quickly as she left, the chess setups were cleared away. The guests returned to eating, drinking, and dancing. Let's leave. She had no intention to stay, neither had I, having accomplished the unexpected boon of finding a piece of the Red Queen. We found a servant to leave and Maria directed outward. He retrieved the sealed box with our entrance fee and handed it over. We exited the building and came to a garden. We had taken a wrong turn. Looking around, we spotted an exit at the far end of the garden, and the Hatter made a move to leave. I call out to stop her, extending a hand. We didn't have a chance to dance. Won't you give me the honor of one dance, Hatter? I won't. Maybe just one with you, Alice. I can't dance. I'm dexterous with my hands, but not so much with my feet. Hatter doesn't fit well with these things. Isn't that a problem? She hesitantly stretched out her hand, fingers hovering over mine. Don't worry, let me lead. I took her hand and we danced, humming in place of an instrumental quartet. I led her in steady steps, ignoring the way she stumbled over my feet. Left, right, left, right. Perhaps this was the most enjoyable dance I'd had yet. I twirled the Hatter around. She was so light. Alice. Alice. Hatter. You might not be so bad after all. She made an expression like she wanted to cry. I rather like you, Alice. Only Alice. I rather liked her too. I gave her another twirl and she let go. I reached out my fingers, but she moved her hand away. The Hatter hopped back with a skip and a spin. Thus she stood by her lonesome. Close your eyes, Alice. I did as she said. I felt her roughly stuff the leg into my arms. I heard a faint tapping noise, reminiscent of footsteps moving away from me. And then there was nothing. I waited and waited and waited. Alice, how long did you want to wait for her? I waited a long time, clutching the leg in my hands. When I opened my eyes, the Hatter was nowhere to be seen. Did she leave me behind? Although I walked around the garden, she was nowhere to be found. I decided to leave as well. Taking one last pass in the garden, I made my way through the exit. A sudden vertigo struck me. I must have had a long day, I reasoned as I held a hand to my forehead while trying to steady myself. My brain spun like a sloshed-up pit of mud. Discomfort and my heart returned. I leaned back against a tree to take a break, looking upward. Eyelids flickering, I wondered if the sky had always looked so far away. My free hand, propped against the bark, slid downwards unconsciously. I closed my eyes for a moment. Darkness. I slowly opened my bleary eyes to the sky. A terrible headache battered my skull. I felt as if I had forgotten something very important. So disoriented I was, I had no idea where I was. I parroted around me and noticed that I still had the limb I just retrieved with me. My head hurt. Hearing footsteps, I pushed myself up to a sitting position and saw her. Let's continue with the Hatter. Looking around, I found that I was at the Hatter's place. I started to talk only for my sweat to feel like sandpaper. Each time I blinked, my eyelids grew heavy again. A chill ran through my whole body. Uncomfortable, that was all I could say I felt. Although I had experienced quite a bit since coming to Wonderland, I had not thought I would catch a cold. Don't speak, Alice. You're burning up, so no tea for you today. Must have still been tea time, for it was always tea time. However, today, the Hatter decided to put the tea aside, even at tea time for the sick me. She brought a cup of water to my lips, tilting it for me to drink. I drank and choked. Coughing and sputtering, I felt her wipe away the water that had spilled. If you drink too quickly, you'll drown. She handed me the cup directly, fingers just barely avoiding mine, but also grasping the cup firmly until she knew that I wouldn't drop it. Drink water slowly, Alice. I've got to get something off of the stove. Seeing that I had the cup in hand, she hopped off in the direction of the stove. I thought back to when we first met. At that time, the thing on the stove had been a hammer, so I hoped that she'd bring back something more pleasant. I sipped from the water cup and waited, setting it aside once I finished. She returned with a bowl of porridge in hand. Sitting down next to me, she scooped up a spoonful of porridge and blew it lightly to cool it down. As the porridge temperature settled, she moved the spoon toward my mouth. I instinctively opened my mouth like a baby bird. I can eat myself. I'd rather you not cannibalize yourself. She fed me porridge, spoonful by spoonful. Once the porridge was finished, she put the bowl away and gave me another cup of water. While letting me sip the water, she wiped away the sweat on my forehead. You're good at taking care of people. Really. I've never quite had... My words drifted off into silence as I thought back to what little I had to say about taking care of others and being taken care of. Hatter, limb, I'll put it away for you. You know me so well, Hatter, and... I could barely keep my eyes open. Rest well. The Hatter placed a cool, trembling hand on my forehead. Then into the realm of hypnosis I fell. After a few days of good rest under the Hatter's care, I recovered to full health. I haven't been so sick in years. Thank you, Hatter. And with that, we will end that here. To continue on another day. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos and want to see more of my content, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always unsubscribe at a later date. And if you want to play the game for yourself, go down to the description where I linked it down below. Have a nice day. See you next time. Bye-bye.